Let the record reflect we've reconvened with all members present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stand in the crowd and I watch people not say the pledge.
May I have a motion for the regular minutes of March 25th, 2019?
So moved.
Second.
We had corrections that were already submitted. Any other discussion or corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
May I have a motion for the executive minutes of April 8th, 2019 and April 22nd?
So moved.
Second.
These have already been discussed. All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome all. It's been 3 weeks for this last meeting, so I apologize. I got a bit of business to cover, and the sun will come out at some point, I've been told, but we will see. First, I want to give an update on our affordable housing. Just give me a second if I pull out my notes here. As promised, that we would try to do almost on a monthly basis, or more often if necessary, is provide an update. And this is to, again, to give you some background and help you understand where we are going. As many know, Madison has a long history of providing affordable housing because it's been the right thing to do. Many years ago, and long before the Mount Laurel Supreme Court decision on affordable housing, Madison formed the Madison Housing Authority. And then later, the Madison Affordable Housing Corporation, a 501c3, to chase grant dollars and raise money in support of affordable housing. They've created hundreds of affordable units throughout the borough for seniors and residents. Madison is one of only 3 towns of the 39 towns in Morris County to have a housing authority. And we obviously very proud of our record, but we understand there's a need to do more. Traditionally, we have met our moral obligation, and now we need to meet a legal obligation. So to that end, we have been engaged in protracted court process and the settlement discussions over the last 3 years to quantify our future affordable housing obligation. The judge assigned to handle our case retired, and we just completed our second case management conference with Judge Michael Gauss, who was appointed to continue the process. The conferences have been very productive, and we hope to forge a reasonable settlement in the near future. But due to pending litigation and attorney settlement discussions, specific details cannot be disclosed this time, but will be shared in public meetings and community meetings in the coming months. And one important part in the negotiations that has been included is in the final settlement is that up to 50% of new affordable housing units will be available to income-eligible military veterans. We hear all too often veterans coming back who have served our country and don't have the ability to find a place to live. And so we are working to have that in our settlement. And so I will continue to bring this update, and we're going to check into our system here. Everyone hit your button for a second to see if it's one of your...
It's my magnetic personality.
I'll sit here.
Okay. Doesn't... Not me? How about we just, Maureen, just hit, starting there, just one at a time, hit your button just to see the button.
Just hold it, hit it.
Oh, it's left. Right, you want to...
Okay, well, apologize. Sitting right in front of me here is the very heavy Municipal Innovation Award that the Borough of Madison won for our joint municipal court. This award was presented to multiple towns, the ones that represented the charter members of our municipal court. This was presented by the Fairleigh Dickinson University Rothman Business Center, And so the charter members included the Chathams, Harding were also recognized. It should be noted that Madison, always a leader in shared services, created a joint court with the understanding that we had the resources with a great staff and with a great new compliant municipal courtroom, which we have done with the renovation of this building. And so we reached out to the neighboring communities and invited them to be part of our joint court. This partnership has saved all the member towns hundreds of thousands of dollars and has now included Morris Township. And so we were recognized for that work. A couple other things going on over the last 3 weeks. This past Saturday, it might be part of someone's report also, but the Town Swap, second annual, went very well. And I want to thank Environmental Commission and DPW for their work, and all the residents that got rid of some of their treasures to share with others and picked up a few treasures. And all too often we see on Facebook some stories that make us cringe at times, and one of the great stories, and we have the leader of Madison area parents, and I want to share a story that was posted on there. Dominique is in the audience, but this was about the construction work being done by the contractor Tilcon. Tilcon was hired by PSC&G to complete paving work. And that's a drum roll, maybe. To complete paving work after the gas line projects. And this story is not about the actual work they did, but the community connection that Tilcon made with the young preschooler. The boy was fascinated by the construction work, and so he spent most of his time while it was going on watching the crew and equipment at work. And on the last day, the young child served coffee and donuts to the crew. And on Madison area parents is a great picture of him with the Tilcon crew. He's wearing a hard hat, sitting next to a road closed sign in his driveway with a big traffic cone. So this is a great way to see how the community connection. I want to share an email from Ken Ware, for our Little League president, as we obviously recently had the Little League opening day parade, and he shared this. I would like to recognize Fred Rivera and the DPW workers for their work on our fields. Fred truly goes above and beyond what is expected of him. On May 10th, Madison Little League hosted senior night game for the varsity high school team. On his own, without being asked, Fred made stencils of painting a big M in front of our dugout, and the surrounding home plate. All the numbers of the seniors were placed. Not only was this a huge hit with the seniors, but the umpire who was associated with the Roxbury school system took pictures and said he's never seen such a tribute. He takes ownership of the fields and does all he can to allow us to play on days that didn't seem possible. And speaking of our fields, thanks to the Borough, Zach Ellis, and the work that has been done in our fields this last fall, we've been able to play on nights that last year would shut us down for at least 2 days. I received an email last week from a parent in Florham Park asking who grooms our fields. And she couldn't believe we were able to play on a night when Florham Park was shut down. Also want to thank Ken O'Brien for allowing Freddie to do what he does, especially on days when I'm sure he could use the manpower elsewhere. Freddie and the entire DPW department deserve excellent recognition for the work. And so it's a thank you again from Ken Ware, who's the president. So if you see our crew out there on the ball fields, thank them. May Day was thankfully not as bad as today, but a slightly cloudy and damp day. But it was, again, great to see all the volunteers that came out there. And another great Arbor Day celebration, one of the great examples of our community as we get together, seeing the elementary schools with their presentations, and, of course, wrapping up with the maypole dance. And we were recognized for the 34th consecutive year for our receiving a Tree City Award. So many thanks to the Shade Tree Management Board and the Friends of the Shade Tree for all their work on behalf of our trees. And also launched on May Day was Into Yellow Week, and we wrapped it up with a picnic and one of the only sunny days in the last month on Saturday, and that was to set the tone of optimism as we raise awareness for mental health. And I want to announce the Employee of the Month, who is a fairly common one for this and continues to go above and beyond. This is construction official Russ Brown for his hard work in his own time restoring the light fixtures at Dodge Field. So a lot of the lights were out at Dodge Field, and he was out there with a scissors lift repairing the lights, and we thank his commitment and efforts. Saves Borough lots of money by him doing it on his own. And a couple of anniversaries, and right in the audience right now, about midway down there, Kevin Boone, celebrating 35 years. Kevin. And Lou Cornine of the Public Works Department, 25 years. Okay, I'm going to come down and do a couple of proclamations, and then we have a couple of oaths of offices to do. Second, I have my notes here. Forgot the proclamation, sorry. Can I have the representatives from Moms Demand Action please come forward? Thank you. This is representatives from Moms Demand Action Against Gun Violence, and we've done this proclamation in the last couple of years. I am a proud member of Mayors Against Illegal Guns, and every day is another day wasted as we try to do the right thing. A couple of things to keep in mind that hit me recently. One, there was a recent shooting in Colorado school again. And the fact that what was interesting in my mind was, as I got the morning paper, I still read the paper, it was not even front page news. And where is this country going when there's a shooting in a high school and it seems to be just part of our lives? That needs to change. Another thing to keep in mind, the survivors of Columbine are now sending their children to high school, and not much has changed. But we can learn from others as we look towards New Zealand. In 14 days, they made impactful change. And that's what this group is trying to do. And together we can truly make a difference. Let me read this proclamation. Whereas National Gun Violence Awareness Day honors and remembers all victims and survivors of gun violence and declares that we as a nation must do more to reduce gun violence. And whereas every day 100 Americans are killed by gun violence and countless others are wounded, making Americans 25 times more likely to be killed with guns than people in other high-income countries. And whereas protecting public safety in the communities they serve is among the legislators' highest responsibilities. And whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from people that should not have them. And whereas to help honor Haja Pendleton, who would have celebrated her 22nd birthday this June, and who as a teenager marched in President Obama's second inaugural parade and was tragically shot and killed just weeks later, on June 7, 2019, has been designated the 5th National Gun Violence Awareness Day. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Haja's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to protect themselves and others, and orange is a color that has been embraced by the gun safety movement because it symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas by wearing orange and commemorating National Gun Violence Awareness Day on June 7th, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives and lost human potential of Americans stolen by gun violence. And whereas we renew our commitment to reduce gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now, therefore, I, Robert H. Connolly, Mayor of Borough of Madison, on behalf of the governing body, hereby proclaim June 7, 2019 as National Gun Violence Awareness Day and encourage all citizens to wear orange and support local communities' effort to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives.
Hi, my name is Margaret Howie, and I'm a member of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, and we are an organization that partners with every town for gun safety. We'd like to thank Mayor Connolly and the Madison Council for organizing a Gun Violence Awareness Day proclamation, making this an important issue for this town. We represent hundreds of individuals in Morris County who have come together to reduce gun violence. We applaud you, the Town Council of Madison, for joining us as we honor the 35,000 individuals who died last year in the United States. As you are painfully aware, gun violence is a daily occurrence, and as Mayor Connolly mentioned, 100 individuals die every single day. School shootings are a common occurrence. Gun Violence Awareness Day was started by a group of high school students, Hadiah Pendleton's friends. This young lady lost her life a week after she was at President Obama's inauguration parade. It's something that I think all of us here at Moms Demand Action, and we're hoping that people around the country and around our town and our country just start to fight and really start to work to have common sense gun legislation. We work in conjunction with people that believe that everyone in this country has a right, because of the Second Amendment, to bear arms, but it has to be common sense. There has to be criminal background checks. There has to be common sense. And I think that that is the common thread that we can all come together. And I thank Mayor Connolly from the bottom of my heart that I live in a town that values this and makes this a really important issue. We will be turning Morristown orange on June 7th. And if anybody wants to, we put lights in the churches. We have ribbons all up and down the green. And if anybody wants to help with that, you can text READY to 64433, and that will clue you into all the events that we have. Again, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chief, you want to come forward? And anyone else you want to accept the proclamation? As we know, this past Thursday, the Police Unity Tour went through Madison, and certainly every year is a very impressive sight as you see all the officers on their bicycles heading to D.C. But what it stands for is even more impressive, and those that who have given their lives in the line of duty to protect us. And so with that in mind, I want to present a proclamation on National Police Week. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, the day that honors all peace officers who have died in the line of duty, and the week in which it falls as Police Week. And whereas the names of law enforcement officers who have been killed in the line of duty are engraved on the walls of National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., and whereas the members of the Madison Police Department play an essential role in preserving the rights and freedoms of the citizens of Madison, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand problems and duties and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of the Madison Police Department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas the Madison Police Department is a modern scientific law enforcement agency which unceasingly provides a vital public service. Now, therefore, I, Robert H. Connolly, the Mayor of Borough of Madison, on behalf of the governing body, proclaim May 12th through May 18th as National Police Week in the Borough of Madison, and publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and the communities across the nation. Chief, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mayor. It's an honor to be up here accepting this proclamation on behalf of the men and women of the Madison Police Department, both sworn and civilian personnel. I'm also proud to be here accepting it on behalf of the nearly 1 million police officers that guard our great country. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Jonathan Grant, please come forward with family. Sam DeMarzo, please come forward also as Chief of Auxiliary. Mr. Grant, it's been a while since I've seen you. So this is an honor to swear in our newest auxiliary police member, Jonathan Grant. I've known Jonathan when he was actually little, which goes back quite a while. So this is an honor to swear you in. A little background on Jonathan before we swear him in. Born and raised in Madison, Jonathan, better known as JG or John, to the community, has served as the manager of CJ's Delicatessen for over 30 years. He also owns his own business, JG Professional Cleaning Service. John felt the need to give back to his community and wished to join the Madison Auxiliary Police Unit. John just recently graduated from Bergen County Police Academy, where he was selected to represent his graduating class during the ceremony. John's brother, Thomas, is also a sergeant with the Prescott Valley Police Department in the state of Arizona. And during John's free time, he enjoys flying and is close to achieving his goal of attaining his pilot license. And he currently resides in Cedar Knolls in the few hours that he's not at CJ's or serving us in the auxiliary police. And to hold the Bible, his mother, Josephine, and Patrolman Julie Morales will be pinning him. Repeat after me. I state your name. Raise your right hand, left hand.
I, Jonathan Grant,
You solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of
all the duties of
auxiliary police officer
auxiliary police officer
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
I further solemnly swear
I further solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
I'll support the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and I will bear true faith
and bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in the state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Welcome aboard. Congratulations. Thank you for raising such a great son. Official rose for Madison.
Just move this side there. The top line. Wow, that was fast. Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations. They look good.
Patrolman Brett Smith, please come forward. And your mother, Arlene Smith, and wife, Danielle, please step forward. Chief. A little bit about our newest police officer who will be wearing badge number 160. Brett Smith was born and raised in Pompton Plains, New Jersey, and middle child of 5. I know what it's like to be a middle child. And yep, it is rough. I got left behind once, but that's another story. At the age of 20, Brett decided to serve his country by enlisting in the United States Marine Corps, where he was honorably discharged at the rank of sergeant in 2015. During his service with the Marine Corps, he was a member of the Security Force Unit whose responsibilities were to provide security for embassies in Southeast Asia. And after his duties with the Security Force, he was then assigned to the 2nd Intelligence Battalion, where he became a ground sensor operator with the United States Border Patrol Unit. While assigned to this unit, he assisted the Border Patrol with narcotics trafficking. After the Marines, Brett continued his education by attending Morris County Community College. Brett did a short stint as corrections officer at Morris County Sheriff's Office after graduating Morris County Police Academy alternate route program in June of 2018. Brett was recently married to his wife Danielle, and they reside in Wayne, New Jersey. And holding the Bible will be his mother, and will conduct the oath of office. Raise your right hand, left hand on the Bible, and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Brett Smith,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all the duties of
all the duties of
police officer
police officer
for the Borough of Madison,
for the Borough of Madison,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
I further solemnly swear
I further solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, and thank you for stepping forward. Danielle will pin.
Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Congratulations.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right. Yep. 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 Thank you all.
Say.
Right.
She wants to say hello.
Okay.
I didn't see you before.
They'll listen to me anyway. They want guns. That's what we're talking about.
All right,
Yes, it is, so it's not about.
we'll let them clear out a little bit to... We'll be moving on to reports from committees. Public Safety, Council President Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, from the Police Department. On Thursday, May 9th, the Police Unity Tour came through Madison Borough, pedaling their way to Washington, D.C. in honor of the police officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice in keeping our communities safe across America. Our very own Lieutenant Joe Longo and Patrolman Carmen DeCaro participated in this year's Police Unity Tour, and in May of 1997, the Police Unity Tour was organized by Officer Patrick Montori of the Florham Park Police Department with other founding members, including the Madison Police Department, in the hope of bringing public awareness about police officers who have died in the line of duty and to honor their sacrifices, which is why their motto is, "We ride for those who died." When started with 18 riders on a 4-day fundraising bicycle ride from Florham Park, New Jersey to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., has now grown into 9 chapters consisting of 2,500 members nationwide who make the trip annually. And then during the past 2 weeks, the police department conducted their semi-annual firearms qualifications, which is required and outlined in the New Jersey Attorney General guidelines. There will be an upcoming makeup date, so residents should not be alarmed if you hear a lot of noise coming from our gun range in the area of John Avenue. If in doubt about the origin of gun sounds, please contact the Madison Police at 973-593-3000. And then from the fire department, during the month of April, they responded to 18 general alarms, 12 still alarms, 23 investigations, 30 medical calls, for a total of 83 calls in the month of April. There were 71 fire prevention inspections made, 17 smoke CO resale inspections were made. On Wednesday evening, May 8th, the Madison Fire Department joined the Florham Park Fire Department at FDU to honor 150 high school students from across northern New Jersey who will be entering the military service upon their graduation next month by hoisting a large American flag with their ladder trucks. On Sunday evening, May 12th, at approximately 7:30 p.m., our ladder truck responded to assist the Morris Township Fire Department at a structure fire on Crescent Drive in their town. Madison firefighters were assigned to cut a hole in the roof above the fire of the 2-story residential structure. And then from the Borough of Madison's Office of Emergency Management, in your utility bill next month, you're going to receive a sheet like this. It's extremely important. It's completely confidential. You're to put information down, your name, your home address, your email address, your home phone, your cell phone. This is all voluntary, but I think it's really important to do. You're to check off if you're a resident that needs oxygen, or a resident that requires an electric nebulizer, or you utilize a CPAP machine. I think anybody who does, I don't know what that is, but the person who utilizes
It's pronounced CPAP.
Sleep apnea.
And then if you're confined to a hospital bed, or you have a stair lift chair, or if medication requires refrigeration. If our emergency squad responds to this, or police and fire, they have this information in hand. They will just have that much more information as they come to your house and will be able to assist you more efficiently. It's completely confidential. It's completely voluntary. It will be in your utility bill next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance and Borough Clerk, Mrs. Vitale.
Thank you, Mayor. From the clerk's office, in anticipation of the June 5th primary election, the clerk's office will remain open for late-night voter registration on May 14th until 8 p.m. Applications for vote by mail ballots and voter registration forms are available in the Borough Clerk's office or online at morriselections.org. From the Finance Department, well, we finally made it. The final budget has been loaded into the admin software and is now available for all department heads. Budgeting is one of the most important internal controls that we establish at the Borough. Each department head is in charge of at least one budget. Some have over 100 different budget lines to maintain. The budget and our Edmunds financial software package together create a check and a balance between the finance department and the various department heads that spend the funds. All budget documents were recently sent to the State Division of Local Government Services. They are also available on RoseNet for anyone that is interested. I will say again, thank you to Ray and to Jim Burnett and to all the department heads for making this a wonderful budget season. We, as you all know, we had a zero increase in our taxes this year, so that took a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication from a lot of people here. The Finance Department has a number of upcoming tasks. They have to file for the annual electric utility report with the United States Department of Energy. This report includes information on the amount of electricity sold, number of customers, and peak demand. They also are completing the annual one-sheet budget summary. This document will be mailed to each of the residents in the tax bills over the summer. Finally, finalizing the tax rate. We have to wait until the state passes their budget and certifies our state aid. Once that is done, we will know the final tax rate and be able to send out the tax bills. We anticipate this happening in the next month or so. Also, one of the other items that we've been very concerned about, the Audit Committee met on April 30th. There's a new regulation this year regarding additional disclosure of pension liabilities, and the auditors will include that in our upcoming report. The committee also discussed areas where the auditors will focus. The field work is expected to be completed on May 20th, and the draft audit will be sent to the committee on June the 10th, and the committee will meet again around June 17th to look at the audit, and then it will be sent to the mayor and council. Just as a reminder, May 27th is Memorial Day in Madison. One of the great spectacular things that we do is the Patriotic Celebration Committee has a Memorial Day parade. We're starting at 8:30 this year up at James Park, and the American Legion from Florham Park will participate in some items there. And then at 9 o'clock, the parade will come down to Condorso Way, and it'll go down Main Street, up Prospect, and then to Kings Road. One of the great things is that we have on the front plaza here is a remembrance ceremony, and we have that participation of the American Legion from Florham Park and lots of other people. So we would be honored to have you join us on this important day and salute to honor our veterans. So please consider coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Utilities, Mr. Rowe.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, in the electric department, construction has started on the new Butler building at the water and light plant. This is going to provide us with additional covered space for the utilities' extensive roster of spare equipment. And second, the electric department is also installing a new circuit that runs between Danforth Road and Treadwell Avenue for an overhead tie point. This is going to serve as an additional power resource for the area to help with reliability. And then from the water department, replacing of the water main servicing Vinyl Place will start shortly. This includes a new 8-inch water line and 2 new fire hydrants. And the following projects are out to bid: the water main replacements for Grove Street and Highland between Greenwood and Britain. Those bids are going to be due this Thursday. And the community place work, which is bids are due the 30th of May. And finally, our grant application to HUD for the replacement of the water main on Highland Avenue was successful. The work will be bid out before the end of this year. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. Public Works and Engineering, Ms. Byrne.
Thank you, Mayor. Kind of coming off of Pat. We are well into our reconstruction phase of our streets. Savelli and Son are doing the repairs on Greenwood Avenue North. We will also be seeing improvements on Sayre, Ross, and Vinyl. and actually all over town. So while it may be a partial inconvenience, it does have a silver lining afterwards. The second thing is Department of Public Works. They're doing everything they always do without being asked. They're maintaining our vehicles, taking care of our parks and Little League fields. And I was going to talk about Fred Rivera, but yeah, you got it there first. We often joke about that the actual soil composition of the baseball fields here in Madison is similar to that at Yankee Stadium. Well, now we can say that our groundskeepers are as good as the Yankee groundskeeper. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. And Community Affairs, Mr. Hoover.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The last meeting, starting with the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee, the last meeting was held at Rexford Tucker Senior Housing on May 8th from 3 to 4:30 in the afternoon. We had a very good turnout, a lively discussion, and lots of good feedback. Plus, we have 2 additional volunteers for the farmers market, which was great. The next meeting of the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee is on May 16th at 2 o'clock in the Senior Center. From the Senior Center, there is no report, but this morning at the Morris County Clerk meeting at the Frelinghuysen Arboretum, Kay Shaler received the Sissy Laurie's Award for her many and continuing years of volunteer service. It was a pleasure to be there to see. Tri-Town 55 Plus Coalition, a cooperative joint learning program among Tri-Town 55 Plus, the adult school, and the Mayor's Wellness programs of Madison and Chatham, shared services, it seems like, will be held on May 15th and May 22nd from 1 o'clock to 2:30 at the Madison Community Arts Center. This program is the conversation of your life, where everyone dies, and is meant for all ages as a way for people to actively plan their lifelong wishes. From the Director of Business Development, Commission report into yellow last week was, by all accounts, more successful than last year, and culminated, as the Mayor reported, with a good picnic on the lawn of the Madison Community Arts Center for the afternoon. Chamber of Commerce, Chamber now has 201 members, and they were thrilled about breaking the 200 barrier. That was great. The Taste of Madison netted $10,500 for each of the 3 participating organizations. The annual fire extinguisher inspection program will be Tuesday, June 11th from 12 to 4 p.m. at Main and Central. The annual awards dinner of the Chamber is on Tuesday, June 4th at the Brook Lake Country Club at 6 p.m. Tickets are $65 a person, and it's open to everyone. The Chamber monthly happy hour is on May 22nd from 5 to 7 at the Shanghai Jazz. That's pretty much it for the Chamber. The Madison, the Museum of Early Trades and Crafts, no report. MACA, no report. The Recreation Advisory Committee, the Junior Girls Lacrosse Program successfully completed their annual Battle of the Boroughs tournament on Sunday, April 28th at the MRC. Thanks to all involved for assuring its continued success. Dugout upgrades and fence repair relocation at Lucy D. Howard can be added to the list of completed field upgrades. Concrete pads, new benches, and new enclosures were added to the dugouts as part of the cooperative effort between Madison Little League and the Borough. The Nature Nuts program will be offered again at Memorial Park, and our summer theater programs through Writers Theater of New Jersey. Keep an eye on the recreation page of rosenet.org in the upcoming weeks for more details. Thank you to engineering, DPW, and the electric department for their efforts in getting the Dodge Field lighting repaired in time for the baseball season. The dry infields evident at the Little League Parade on April 27th are a testament to their excellent efforts. And the Mayor's Wellness Program, there will be a fitness crawl, will be held on September 15th or 22nd, we're not exactly sure yet, at 405 location with the Community Arts Center as the hub. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And Health, Ms. Cohen.
First, a reminder, the weather may not indicate it, but the pool is opening in a few short weeks. So if you haven't joined, please make sure you go online. Membership is all online at this point. And then from the Health Department, our regular meeting, as a reminder, has been moved from Tuesday, May 21st to this Wednesday, May 15th at 7:30 p.m. at the Board of Health on Walnut Street. The Public Health Nursing Supervisor has been notified that the Madison Health Department has won top honors on the New Jersey Department of Health Vaccine Preventable Disease Program Influenza Honor Roll. This is recognition of the efforts of the Health Department for its commitment to protecting the community through flu immunization. Some of the initiatives highlighted were Bottle Hill Day, free information giveaways, and posting flu clinic dates in a variety of available mediums to the public. The Health Department has been made aware of wild animal foxes sightings in the borough. The health officer advises that these are natural animals for the area, and it is likely that foxes are moving around due to gestation and live births of baby foxes. However, as always, if a resident notices an animal is behaving strangely, aggressively, or exhibiting signs of trembling and muscle incoordination, call the police department and they will contact animal control to take necessary action. May is Mental Health Month. Statistics show that 1 in 5 Americans experience a mental illness. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. Mental health is important at every stage of life, from childhood through adulthood. For more information, go to www.mentalhealth.gov.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any communications or petitions?
None received, Mayor.
Okay, we're now on to our first of 2 invitations for discussion. This one is limited to either our one agenda discussion, which is a parking presentation, or you may comment on the following resolutions. If you wish to comment on other topics, including ordinances or some ordinances that have hearings, will have a particular comment period. Other ordinances, you can wait for the second discussion period. And the resolutions that are up on the consent, and I apologize for a long list, but that extra week in between gives us more work to do. Resolution 145, which is a transfer of plenary retail consumption license, aka liquor license, to Waverly Restaurant Group, LLC, trading as Bottle Hill Tavern. Resolution 146, purchase of a new NEC PBX phone system to the New Jersey State contract, and this is an amount not to exceed $110,000, and that was funded through Ordinance 18/2019. Resolution 147, appointing Robert Westenberger to part-time position of acting fire subcode official at the hourly rate of $40 an hour. Resolution 148, authorizing participation in Police-Assisted Addiction Recovery Initiative, PARI, and this is designed to give individuals with substance abuse disorders a safe way to seek help for their addiction. Resolution 149, which is authorizing the sale of surplus property from the Madison Public Library, and this is through online auction services of Municipid. Resolution 150, appointing John Downs position of summer intern to the Madison Police Department, hourly rate of $12 an hour. Resolution 151, authorizing release of surety bond to KRE Urban Renewal on block, and this was amending the original one. The previous resolution said $57,127.67. It has been corrected to $57,137.99. Resolution 152, approving raffle license for Shakespeare Theater of New Jersey. Resolution 153, purchase of dispatch equipment for emergency communication equipment through New Jersey State contract in the amount not to exceed $310,000. This was funded through ordinances 31, 2018, 39, 2018, and 17, 2019. Resolution 154, authorizing purchase of audio recorder for emergency communication equipment through New Jersey State contract not to exceed $22,000, authorized through ordinance 16, 2019. Resolution 155, authorizing purchase of emergency communication consoles through New Jersey State contract not to exceed $42,000. This is funded through ordinance 16, 2019. Resolution 156, authorizing expenditure from Open Space Trust Fund for replacement retaining wall of Luke Miller property, and this is not to exceed $3,400, again being funded through Municipal Open Space Trust Fund. Resolution 157, authorizing renewal lease agreement with New Jersey Transit for the Crescent parking area. That's right in front of the train station. Resolution 158, awarding professional services contract to J.L. A. Mahalik, architect, to design project for architectural plans and specifications for police firearms training facility, an amount not to exceed $18,000, and this is funded through general operating. The Resolution 159, coordinate MRC diversion requests in an amount not to exceed $18,000. Resolution 160, authorizing contract award daily computer networking maintenance services to SAI Enterprises of Burlington, Mass. They were the sole qualified bidder. They are a current contractor, and it's an amount of $62.50 per hour. Resolution 161, confirming payment number 2 to Joe Med Contracting for the Greenwood water main replacement, and this is an amount of $199,000. And this was funded through Ordinance 18-2018. Resolution 162, confirming payment number 1 to MBT Contracting for Madison Electric Storage Building Project. Payment 1 is an amount of $119,000, funded through Ordinance 3-2015 and Ordinance 37-2018. Resolution 163, of ratifying the appointment of intern Sabrina Liu as intern in the Finance Office and Public Library. And this is unpaid through a cooperation with Madison High School. And Resolution 164, appointing Louis Amarato Jr. to the position of Accounts Clerk and Assistant and Construction Code Official, as annual salary of $46,000. Resolution 165, appointing Kathleen Notine as the full-time position of Deputy Borough Clerk at a salary of $50,000. Both those positions are in the operating budget. Resolution 166, appointing Vivian Thorson, position of Deputy Court Administrator at for amount of $47,000. And Resolution 167, approving raffle licenses for Cheshire Home. And Resolution 168, ratifying the appointment of Joseph Russo, summer intern position at $12 an hour. And that's in the Land Use Department. So those are resolutions. If you caught all that you can comment on now. If you wish to comment on any of those or the parking discussion, please step forward, state your name, your address, and try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. Well, I'll give you 4. Kathy, please step forward.
Oh, I see.
Kathy Daly, West End Avenue. I just have questions on 2, and if, as you discuss them, if you could just answer the questions. You don't have to answer them now, just while you're discussing the resolutions. Resolution 149, I'm just curious where the property is on the library property that's no longer needed, like where physically on the plant is it? And then the second question.
Shelving.
It's excess equipment and things, so shelving and other things like that.
Oh,
not actual.
Oh, I thought it was
not land property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that. And then Resolution 159. I just don't know what the MRC diversion request is. So if somebody could explain that. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment on any of the resolutions? Please step forward. Seeing none, this will close this part of the meeting. And the MRC diversion, there's a section of the MRC property in that is fenced off currently because of environmental issues, and so that's the land within that the fenced-in area to give us further options going into the future. All right, and we're on to our agenda discussion, parking presentation. Business Development Director, Lisa Ellis. Welcome.
Okay. I will try to make this as brief as possible. This is not the first time I've been here about parking. I was here in January, and we actually started this whole process last July. So a lot of things have not changed in that time frame, except I hope that we have some more concrete solutions for some of the issues. So what are our challenges? I mean, a lot of these were presented in the Urbanomics Downtown Revitalization Study. As you may recall, last winter, I guess, early 2018, we had a business property owner from downtown come to us after she had done an informal survey, which was very helpful to us and actually helped kickstart this as an initiative. What we find today is no different than what it was then, except perhaps it's a little bit, the conditions have deteriorated due to the fact that we are very blessed to have a thriving downtown, which of course creates higher parking demand. There's a high level of competition for all of our parking spaces between business owners, their employees, and customers trying to all park in the same place. We have a limited number of merchant employee spaces that have been designated to date. The business owners survey indicated that we have as many as 400 to 500 employees seeking parking in downtown. Currently, merchant tenant permit spaces are located in our prime customer parking areas, including the Cook and Elmer Street parking lots. We also felt that the cost of permits for merchants and employees, especially for our smaller business owners, was a little bit high. And as you've heard me say before, free parking is wonderful, but it's not always easy to manage, especially when, right now we have a single parking enforcement officer who struggles with the fact that many of our merchant employees are parking in prime spaces in front of stores, and there really is very limited motivation not to park there because our fees and violations are very low compared to other places in other towns. So those were sort of the things we were setting out to tackle. And to address this, Mayor Connolly formed an ad hoc parking committee last fall. The membership included representation from the DDC, the Madison Area Chamber, Borough Administration, and the Madison Police Department, for their, and we thank those who participated for their service, including Eric Range, Carla Brady, John Morris, Karen Giambra, Frank Iannarone, Karen Sionato, Cindy Weir, and Joe Longo, in addition to Jim Burnett, the mayor, and myself. The committee met... Next slide. Oh, thank you. I can't walk and chew gum at the same time, but I'm trying. Met almost every other month for a while more, talked about a lot of different topics, etc. But the main goals and objectives are there: to find more merchant and customer parking downtown, increase equity and efficiency of commuter daily parking, address parking inventory management, and some of our marketing issues. These are the recommendations. The committee just met a week or so ago, and these are our final recommendations. Part of this involves the complete reworking of Ordinance Chapter 134, parking lots. There's a lot of basic cleanup, changing the names. You haven't seen that yet. That will be before you for introduction at the last meeting of this month. The substantive changes, though, that are incorporated and woven into Chapter 134 include creating merchant employee street parking zones, raising parking violation fines and making them progressive, maximize use of existing parking spaces, and some basic infrastructure improvements to the existing lots. So on the creation of these merchant employee zones, the thought is that we will either add or utilize existing parking spaces on a variety of streets that are further from the center of town. These will not be signed. The merchants will have to buy a permit, and as part of that permit will be told that they can park here without penalty, but they won't be exclusive to the merchants. So as you drive around town, I'm sure you notice there are areas where people almost never park. The far end of Kings Road, this end of Kings Road. We want to add some spaces on Chapel Street, etc. They will have to have the hang tag, but as I said, they won't be exclusive to merchants. It will sort of be a first come, first serve basis. We think this will help. It adds almost 100 spaces, which will be available for the merchant's employees to use. Part of this will also happen through timing, scheduling, etc. As part of this also, we are recommending a reduction in merchant permit parking fees, which are currently at $150 per tag. We are recommending that they be reduced to $100 per tag or 6 tags for $500, hoping that that will help some of the businesses that now have a kind of rather large number of employees, like restaurants, et cetera, who employ, 10, 15 people on, doing shift work, et cetera.
Lisa, can you go back one slide for a second?
Sure.
No, that's forward.
Oh, that's up. I'm sorry. Where's the clicker?
One more.
One more. Okay.
Yeah, so I think the Kings Roads are okay. Maple Avenue from Kings Road to Hartley.
It's the end here, right before you get to
It's just a handful of spots.
Green Ave is fine. Looking at Chapel and Cook, though, those are both residential areas that we're talking about, and I'm assuming there are already people parking on those streets who live there during the day at times?
As I said, it'll be first come, first serve, and the thought with Chapel is to move the parking to the north side. Now it's on the south side, and actually stripe the spaces, which will increase by at least 10 the number of available spaces that are there.
So the issue on the south side is you have so many driveway cuts.
Driveways.
So we would avoid the driveway cuts by moving to the other side.
So
we would.
Making it parking on one side only?
Yes.
Yep.
Did we?
And it is now. It's parking on the south side only.
Yeah, I was looking at Google Maps or whatever. Did we consider making it one way and letting people park on both sides? I'm assuming one of the reasons we only have parking on one side is if people aren't parked on both sides, it'd be difficult for opposing cars coming down the street. But it's only 1 block long, and you might be able to get parking on both sides if you made it a one-way street.
You couldn't stripe it. That was, I've been through this with the engineers. Frank Russo, I had him look at all of this, and the problem is it's exactly 30 feet wide, making it very difficult to park on both sides. But for some reason, in some code somewhere, once you stripe it, it becomes an issue. So
the street has to have a minimum width in order to put striping?
Yeah, it has something to do with whether you can park on both sides. We have to get a frank explanation for that.
Okay.
But it was something to that effect that once we striped it,
I think maybe that's one of these things that we could look at as a future.
Okay.
If it's well utilized, maybe we come back and visit what can be done if it was one way, and what are the impacts on other streets if it's one way.
Because it seemed like if you striped the Dodge Field side and made that the merchant parking and left the other side open for residents and whatever, you might be able to get more spaces without impacting the residents' parking.
Yeah, my guess is that because that you'll probably have about 50% utilization by merchants and leaving plenty for residents.
Okay.
and the police department was concerned about getting emergency apparatus down the street with parking on both sides.
Well, that's why I thought if you had it one way, it wouldn't be as bad. You wouldn't. I mean, the street. I don't think the street's any narrower than the street I live on, and people park on both sides, and they can still get.
But it has
down
no stripes.
No, it's not striped. That part is true. So if that's a legal issue, I understand that part.
Yeah.
And I dealt with the Oak Street, and that's even narrower.
I deal with that every day with Alexandra. Now, on Hook Avenue, the thought was to hopefully get some of the merchants out of the parking lot.
I get that
and
part.
onto the street.
But the other side of that street is typically parked up also. I don't know who's usually parking
Sometimes,
there.
but right now it hasn't been striped. So I think a lot of people don't realize that it's actually parking.
Yep.
And then you have the issue because it's not striped. It looks like a bike lane. You have people parking in the driveways and everything.
Yeah.
So
I think striping
this will help.
I think striping will also help because you get people who park either carelessly or obnoxiously and take up essentially 2 spots where you could get an extra car in between some of the driveways. That would help.
Maureen?
Are we going to do side by side?
And microphone?
Oh, sorry. Have we addressed, talking to people, merchants downtown and then consumers downtown, are we going to address the idea that maybe 1 hour free is not enough?
We do.
That's a great question. Stay tuned.
Gotta read the whole thing first.
Now you're like,
Oh, and my second
that's
question.
foreshadowing.
And my second question was, we have a lot of people living on the second and third floors, and are we going to address that too?
Another great question.
It is. Another great.
I teed it up.
All right, let me see if I not mess this up this time. Okay, so these, as part of the recommendations, were to raise the parking violations. The current are in blue, and the new proposed that have been vetted by Judge Troxel and are ready to go are in the red. As you can see, they're progressive, and I think reasonably so. You shouldn't have to, you want to go even more. I actually did a search. I checked Morristown, Summit, Montclair. These new violation fees are within their ranges, but I would caution that, they all have paid parking on street and in their lots. So I think I think this is a reasonable place. But are we going to? Okay, is everybody?
Yep.
Okay with this one? All right. Now, here in my effort to make things simpler, I probably made it more confusing. So part of what we were trying to do is maximize the use of existing pavement. I think that's key. If you, and on any given Friday or a Monday, if you drive by our commuter lot, on Kings Road, it's 3/4 empty, yet not available to casual parkers or somebody who wants to park, or a merchant who wants to park, an employee who wants to park. So we have empty pavement that's not being used. By working into the ordinance and adjusting the lots to sort of all reflect this, or not all reflect the exact same pattern. There's some minor variation between the different lots. We can hopefully maximize the parking lot. If you take Kings Road, for example, and the dots are all the missing words, so I understand that probably made it confusing. But the first commuter train actually leaves the station at 4:45. So the commuters would get precedence in that lot, and they would be able to park there from 4:30 a.m. to 2 a.m., so 21 hours. Then if there's anything available there, it would be open to the merchants and employees from 9:30 to 2 a.m. And then at 9 p.m., it could be open to our tenants, residential tenants, which are very specified in the ordinance. It has the historic downtown. There's very specific buildings that fall within this and a part of this. So it's not a huge number. There are about 40 actual tenant permits out there now. But it would free up some more space because we have temporarily stopped selling tenant permits, but I do believe that there is availability out there in the lots, especially if we structure it this way to free up some more.
And the key thing here is we don't have the capacity to provide residential tenant parking 24 hours a day.
Exactly.
So, but there are other options through the businesses such as Boxcar, that should there be a downtown resident that needs to park their car during the day, and I'm probably stealing your thunder already, but we did, just in case someone didn't think that through, there are options for their daylight parking.
Yes. So that's sort of the model, and it repeats for every parking lot in a slightly different way, but when you see them all in the ordinance when it's introduced, I think it'll be clearer. There is no reason that it can't work. I mean, if you drive tonight, you'll see that the lots are completely open. You come by on Saturday and Sunday, these lots out here are completely open. So some of that we're going to have to fix through education, but anyway, as we go. Part of that, as has already been alluded to, is shared public-private parking as well. On top of making better use of the lots we own and the pavement we own, Boxcar has been in town already since last summer, trying to create public-private partnerships through their app. Currently, there's 37 spaces in use through their app close to downtown. Of course, everybody can park, and it's fun to stay behind the YMCA. That's actually what it's called on the app, which I thought was pretty cool. The local churches have made some of their spaces available as well. Now, understand that these private entities receive payment for these spaces. So this is a win-win for everybody. I know I've been trying to push even the Madison School District, who has empty spaces at Madison Junior School every day, to make a little extra money that way. Still working on it. I think that once we sort of get our act together and this gets out and we really create a marketing campaign around it, then I'm hoping that this aspect will build, because they have identified up to 1,000 potential spaces for this kind of a program between the middle of town and the East End. They are also, it's not included in here, they also are managing spaces for Whole Foods, currently in the Coviello lot. So then some of the next little things that will have to be done and that are already on the schedule are to, if it ever stops raining, seal, coat, and restripe the Green Avenue lot here, which will add, I believe, 6 or so minimally spaces to that lot. The others are all scheduled. Elmer, it's not defined how many extra spaces can be created there, because there's private, it's a very strange configuration. There's where all the private property and the borough property come together, but it's still worth exploring. In 2020, we have planned reconstruction of the Maple Prospect lots. And there's definitely like a potential to not only make it safer, because if you ever had to deal with the entrance and exit there, or they're not marked, they're kind of both everything. You can come in, you can go out. It's a little intimidating at times. But to better align some of that, and there will be a gain of spaces there, I think about 11. Then Kings Road, unfortunately, we will not be able to gain any additional spaces there, but it needs just reconstruction. And Cook Avenue is planned for a full reconstruction next year, also mostly driven by safety and efficiency. All right, next steps. As I mentioned, they were going to give you the entire, first has to be vet by our attorney. So that will be going over to, I've got final committee comments on that, and that will be going over to Matt's office this week. Hopefully we will be able to stripe some of the additional spaces on Green, Cook, and Chapel if it ever dries out. And then the borough, you may recall more than a year ago, the borough put out an RFP for for an app that we are going back out. That's already out on the street, and responses to that are due on June 13th. As you also may know, the Friends of the Madison train station signed a short-term agreement with Boxcar to manage the parking at the Crescent. They've been out on, had been out on site working with parkers since April 22nd. They spent almost 3 weeks out there. Last week on the 9th, I think it was the 9th, the old cash box came out, and they went live with the app. They have had good success. They had a 97% acceptance rate on the first day, which is pretty amazing. But I think that was probably primarily due to the amount of pre-work that they had done, talking and meeting and working through any issues with the individual parkers.
John?
They had...
Lisa, hold just a second. John's got it.
Yeah, can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
On the Boxcar app at the train station, one or two of our residents have proffered the concern that there may not be people that have the apps or have a smartphone with an app, and therefore, how do they pay?
Okay, I can tell you.
Perfect.
So Boxcar's been great working through this on an individual basis, but after the first month, they acknowledge that there might have to be some changes as far as signage, et cetera, are concerned. Now they work with people who can book it online, not on their smartphone, if they can do it at home on their computer, or, that has worked. Or the alternative is to go to the public safety building and pay cash at the window.
Okay.
And that is something we're looking to kind of formalize in some way through signage, et cetera, or not they are looking to formalize going forward. So, not all, one size doesn't fit all, for sure. But they have been very accommodating and willing to work with people, which I think is a very good sign. Nobody can never make everybody happy.
No, I understand that, and we got like 97, 98.
90. I mean, that's a pretty good return.
Still, there is a concern about it.
Part of that, and you have that on your agenda tonight, is an increase in the daily parking rate from $5 to $7. In my opinion, long overdue. Just so you know, that's a piece of Chapter 134 that you're pulling out to do ahead of time, but that is in there. And just so you know, this I thought was interesting. In the first 101 parkers, I guess that was on Thursday and Friday, of that 101, 21 were Madison residents, 31 were from Florham Park, 16 from Harding, and 10 from Morristown, and then the rest, 5 from Chatham, little bits and pieces from different places. So that sort of confirmed what we already knew. And I think that having just spent the weekend in Boston and paid $40 a day to park my car underneath my hotel, $7 doesn't seem too much.
Our rates are way under what
they're way under, and
towns pay.
Yeah,
now, so charge right now. So
it also shows once the RFP goes out, we implement a broader system of the data that we can collect and have an even better understanding of who is parking.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I did an informal survey at all New Jersey transit lots around the state, and the range is incredible. There's no seeming rhyme or reason to it. Ranges from $3 to $22 a day. So, I think this is well within, considering most parking in Madison is free, especially. So we're also, after this, we'll have to make some smaller changes to other ordinances where, like 185 vehicles and traffic, actually, the street some of the street times and locations are governed under that. So there's going to be some little other cleanup that will have to happen. Joe Longo, the Madison Police Department, they have a lot of, they've made a lot of progress with the stuff they need in order to be able to more effectively handle e-ticketing and license plate reading. We will still have to purchase an automated license plate reader, which should be under about $30,000 on state contract. E-ticketing, I know Joe has been working with the administrative office of the courts, trying to get that sorted out. He's been very diligent about that. There will have to be some minor changes to signage, et cetera, but most importantly, we will have to create a very strong public relations and education campaign to sort of help to change some of these behaviors. And we are ready to do that.
And we're working with the Chamber of Commerce on that education
Yes, we
campaign.
are.
Deb and then Maureen.
I do think part of the education campaign, if people would think about, and I'm guilty, I'll circle and see if I can get that spot right in front of Crowley's or Healthy Italia or Tons of Toys. But my oldest, who just got his license a month ago, spent 10 minutes circling the lot, and when he came home, I'm like, why didn't you just park on Kings Road? He's like, I didn't notice there were spots there. People, I think, just drive there and don't even, it doesn't register that there are spots there. And the other piece is, you can't go to the mall and park that close to where you're going. And I think if that's the example used, if you go to Short Hills Mall or Livingston Mall, you're walking further than from the train lot to, or lot 3 to the stores. And I think that needs to be maybe a creative way to get people to realize, oh, it's really not that far.
No, it's not that far.
And I think with the ever-evolving technology, though, it won't be day one when we put a new program in place, but probably year 2 or 3 is being able to go online and actually see where available spots are right away.
Yeah,
Maureen?
that'd be a great goal.
Oh, I just wanted to point out that the license plate readers are necessary since the court came down and said chalking someone's car goes against their constitutional amendment.
But yeah, we've been using a different we've been using a different method, but
we chalk the street.
Oh, you chalk the street?
Yeah,
okay.
right now that's how we've been.
But the license plate reader will be key in the progressive fines, because as soon as you read the plate, it will tell you right away whether it's a first time or second time offense. Other?
Before last one?
Yeah.
On the last slide. Okay, so additional recommendations are to add 3 grab-and-go parking spaces, so 15-minute, pick up whatever, pizza or coffee or something. And the police recommend that they be on Main Street, both on the north side, one on the west end by McCool's and the other on the east end by Tons of Toys, right past what is now a loading zone, that first spot on either end, and then one on the east side of Central Avenue by the pharmacy. We also recommended that an additional handicap space be added to Lincoln Place on the north side corner near Waverly. We also noted that a lot of the parking signs out there now are not consistent. Like some say you can park till 7, some say you can park till 10, some say you can park till 4. So that all has to be sorted out, and any changes to the parking schedule, et cetera, will have to be made. And then we are recommending that all the 1-hour parking be changed to 90 minutes. So, 2 hours is probably a little too much, and 1 hour is definitely not enough. So that includes Waverly, Lincoln, Central, and Prospect.
And that reflects a shift from retail to service-based businesses.
Right. You can't get your hair.
So more discussion, and we'll talk about next steps. Pat?
So Lisa, a couple questions. On the grab and go, how long are we talking about? 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, 15.
Those are good ideas, but do we have the ability to police that? I mean, throughout the hours of the day?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially with a reader.
Well, speaking of the reader, is that going to be deployed in a police car that they'll sweep the streets every hour, every
That's
2
the
hours?
goal, yes.
Okay, so it'll be done by both the parking enforcement officer and patrol?
No, it'll all be done by the parking. It'll be loaded on the parking enforcement officer's car.
Okay.
And so she should be able to manage that. She's managing it very well now on her feet and just with her experience, et cetera. So this will be a help to her and will probably, help her be more efficient in what she does.
But she's only working a certain number of hours a day, and those spots, like for example, will need to be policed from sun up until 9 o'clock at night, I would assume.
Well, right now we're enforcing till 7 p.m.
Okay.
So
And then after that, they revert back to whatever the rest of the street is?
yes.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, I was looking at a lot of those different permutations of things you can do. Are some of our lots going to start to look like street signs in New York City where there's a series of signs that say this, then this, then this? Or how are we going to be able to put all this information?
Ideally, I know at least the Boxcar app, and we haven't, really had any sort of hands-on experience with any of the others. It has the ability to manage these spaces through different techniques, like creating user groups that are specific and tied. Everything has to be license plate based, even all the permits. So there's definitely a way to do that through user groups and timing and whatever. And nobody on this committee is a fan of more and harder to understand signs.
I think the concept of the signs is what needs to be done for the general public will be put on a sign, but as Lisa mentioned, the idea of the on-the-street permit parking for merchants, we're not going to sign it because that will be done through the permit application. They'll have a list of where to park, and so we would do that with all the communication permit-wise.
Okay. I know you're going to get to the...
and maps and things.
I know you're going to get to the next steps, which was my last question, but my other question was, when I looked at the goals, there were two I thought that would have been fundamentally part of that, which is, what's our current inventory and what do we need? Because I know you could have kind of talked about merchants needing 400 to 500, but that's not needed at any one time. But I'm sort of looking at what currently do we see as the gap between what we have available and what we need, and then to what degree will all of this potentially satisfy that?
I think, truthfully, to be honest, it's going to be a little trial and error. I imagine 100 new spots will make a significant difference, and that's just the street zones. That doesn't include the changes to the regulations for the parking lots. And I think there's a potential there too as well, especially on certain days, to make a significant difference.
Yeah, my gut feeling is we're probably at least half of the issue. The idea that's a 400 deficit is over a whole day. That maybe at a given time it might be 200, so it's probably even less than that. So
And I mean, we're still shooting at a moving target because the downtown continues to evolve. So we're solving sort of today's problem, but the question is, where are we going to be in 5 or 10 years?
Right. And if Nick Platt was here, he'd say self-drive cars, and so
yeah. I'm in the technology field. I don't.
I don't think that's as fast as some people.
Before I cross the other side.
Anything, Frank?
Carmelo, Astrid, okay. Deb?
Two questions.
And then
One
John.
comment, one question. I'm going to put in a plea, 2-hour parking instead of 90-minute parking. If I want to go do lunch with somebody for an hour and then want to go someplace else or a couple of other places, 2 hours would be nice. Just my personal feeling. 90 minutes, you're still, if you're doing two things, especially with as much service-oriented in there, 90 minutes is a good compromise to me, but I'd like to see it 2 hours. But my bigger concern is, do we know how many handicap spaces we have in town currently, and is adding one enough?
On the streets, one isn't.
The plan for the Cook Avenue parking lot will include many more when that comes out with our reconstruction. So that's more to come.
So the hope is in 2020, Cook Avenue will be redone, and that will house.
They'll be clearer
more?
and better defined in those customer lots.
Okay, I'm worried that adding only one
Street parking
is not enough.
is not necessarily the ideal in that situation anyway, because you are limited to one side of the car. So,
Right, but I guess how many are in the lots at this point?
there are a number.
There's a bunch.
Could be a couple more, but it's whatever code will require is what will.
We view it as a deficit, and that's why, it will be addressed in the Cook.
Yeah.
Don and then Maureen.
Yeah, I'm quite pleasantly surprised at this report. I think you guys did a fabulous job. Very comprehensive, very in-depth, creative. I think it's really, really good, and I look forward to the next steps. I think you guys are great. Nice going, all of you.
They did. Everybody was.
Maureen?
Well, speaking from personal experience with handicapped spaces, while I'd love to have one on Lincoln, I do have to recognize that the town does have quite a few handicapped spaces, and they're, around town.
And Carmela.
I just really want to make a comment because in my experience as a volunteer for like nigh on 50 years now, we've been talking about parking problems. And I had a stack about this high of parking projects, and everybody had a different concept. So I'm telling you, when I looked at this and we had a good conversation this afternoon, this is probably one of the best that I've seen in a very long time. I think there's good possibility in here, but we have to teach people that it's okay to walk.
Yeah, I do.
I made a comment a long time ago that we don't have a parking problem per se. We have a walking problem.
For sure.
And if people can understand what a gorgeous downtown it is, and just look at the buildings that are there and whatever, and you get an opportunity also is to find out what businesses there are, if you're walking. So, but this is great. I think that, I introduced to you that you decided on these really good people that have a lot of experience and a lot of history here. So I think it's, and we'll give you as much help as you possibly can.
Okay.
Whether it's changing ordinances or what. You have my vote on that. So.
And the best part of this was this report, the consultants cost us nothing, so. So with that in mind, and under the understanding that there has been a lot of proposals over the years and then nothing's happened, is Lisa mentioned the plan is to come back with introduction of ordinances at the next meeting that will implement most of these things. And so we will get rolling and making a meaningful impact in the downtown environment.
And, and this will continue to evolve. This will bring us a step forward, and then we'll reevaluate, and we'll see where we are.
Yep.
There is still other potential for stuff to be done.
Good stuff.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to, the ordinance number 19, which is listed for an introduction, it addresses the parking fees at the Crescent, which needs to be done right away, so that is on tonight's agenda. Now we move on to ordinance for hearing. Will the clerk please read the statement?
The ordinance is scheduled for hearing. We're introduced by title and passed on first reading at the regular meeting of the council held on April 22nd, 2019. They were posted and filed according to law, and copies were made available to the general public with questions.
I'll call up ordinances for second reading. Ask the clerk to read said ordinances by title. Ordinance 15-2019.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $100,000 from the Electric Capital Improvement Fund for substation feeder protection relays and gauges and related materials.
I open the hearing for ordinance 15. Anyone wish to comment, please step forward. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mr. Mayor, I move ordinance 15-2019.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
I declare ordinance 15-2019 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law. Ordinance 16-2019.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $131,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for the purchase of radio equipment.
I open the hearing for ordinance 16. Anyone wishing to comment, please step forward. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move ordinance 16-2019.
I second that.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
I declare ordinance 16-2019 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law. Ordinance 17-2019.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $125,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for the replacement of communication dispatch desks and related radio equipment.
I open hearing for ordinance 17. Anyone wishing to comment, please step forward. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move ordinance 17-2019.
I second the motion.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Yes.
I declare ordinance 17-2019 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law. Ordinance 18-2019.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison appropriating $110,000 from the General Capital Improvement Fund for replacement of the municipal telephone system.
I open hearing for ordinance 18. Anyone wishing to comment, please step forward. Seeing none, I close the hearing.
Mayor, I move ordinance 18-2019.
Second.
Any council discussion? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Yes.
I declare ordinance 18-2019 adopted and finally passed, and ask the clerk to publish notice thereof in the newspaper and file the ordinance in accordance with the law. And now we're on to the second invitation for discussion. This is when you may comment on any topic. Again, try to keep your comments to 3 minutes, but I will give you a 1-minute grace period, and you'll have to stop at 4 minutes. As you have anything to say, please step forward, state your name, your address, write the same on the clipboard.
Larry Cohen, volunteer for the Humane Society of the United States.
Address?
Fanwood, New Jersey. You have a resolution on your books that supports the spirit of the ordinance that you're reintroducing tonight about pet stores. And that resolution urges government entities all over to take action on this topic. You have already passed a version of this ordinance once on first reading. You have 2 pet stores in town that operate without selling dogs who endorse this ordinance. You have a prestigious shelter in town with whom you contract with for animal control that endorses this ordinance. Your Board of Health endorses this ordinance. And you have heard from your own citizens, residents of Madison, who endorse this ordinance. The only people here who don't support this ordinance tonight are strangers from other towns who don't live or vote here, but whose stores have a proven track record of doing business with breeders with terrible violations of the Animal Welfare Act. You have received documentation that proves that. And they were never punished for those violations because New Jersey law is not working, contrary to what they will have you believe. New Jersey law on this issue works about as well as our nation's gun laws are working. Their model, which they will tout, is not the most regulated, and it is not the safest for consumers. What they will not tell you about are things like the Iowa breeding farm that was just quarantined within the past week because of a bacterial outbreak that can be transmitted to humans. They will not tell you about Petland, the only national pet store chain that sells dogs, which about a year ago had a bacterial outbreak which sickened and hospitalized over 100 people in about a dozen states. And they will not tell you about the fake rescues and fake rescue brokers that are popping up now to supply puppy mill dogs to stores so they can skirt the law. The Iowa Attorney General is currently investigating a fake broker in Iowa, and as it happens, Shake-a-Paw, a store in New Jersey, received a number of puppies from that broker. Now, Shake-a-Paw will tell you that they were an unwitting victim, that they knew nothing about this, and that they are not being investigated. What they will not tell you is that the fake broker was operated by the exact same people out of the exact same address.
One minute.
As a regular broker that they had been using for years. Please consider motivation and credibility when you consider this ordinance. On one side, you have concerned volunteers, people whose only stake in this is the animals, the welfare and health of the animals. On the other side, you have people whose stake in this is their bottom line, and whose threat is that helping animals will be detrimental to their bottom line. There are bad people all over. There are some bad people that run rescues places. There are bad people elsewhere. But the worst people run puppy mills. And those puppy mills supply dogs to pet stores, including in New Jersey. New York has a bill to get rid of them. Pennsylvania has a bill to get rid of them.
Thank you, Larry.
Get rid of them.
Cindy Knowles, owner of Very Delicious, Lighthouse Station in Tewksbury. I'm glad Mr. Cohn just brought up the outbreak out of Iowa from a breeder. This is an excellent example of how New Jersey regulation is working, because that breeder is non-compliant with New Jersey state law. When we heard about this today, we pulled the USDA reports that we easily have at our hands. That breeder is non-compliant with New Jersey law, which means that those sick puppies cannot come into our stores. They cannot be sold by us. They cannot go out into the public and get anybody sick, because we cannot use that breeder. We're compliant, and we have the USDA's reports to check these breeders. But what's interesting about this is that those puppies didn't end up in any stores. They ended up in a rescue, because these rescues are going to these auctions and they're buying dogs unregulated. Okay? So now the rescues are buying dogs so they can come up here unregulated, unchallenged, not any other veterinary oversight, and they're the ones trucking those puppies into the state. So if we have to be concerned about those sick dogs coming in, they're not coming in because they're coming into my store. It's illegal for me to work with that breeder. This is the problem that nobody's understanding here, that there is strict regulation. And us professional stores, and I've been defamed by Mr. Cohn over and over. I was horribly defamed and slandered by Miss Jean Clayton at the last meeting. I wasn't here, but I certainly watched the video. It's really a shame that they have to go to that level when we work very, very hard. I have a thriving business. I have hundreds and hundreds of customers coming back for their second and third puppies. They love our puppies. We give them choice. This is the United States of America. If somebody wants to rescue a dog, we support that. Let them rescue. But if somebody is looking for a purposely bred puppy for their family, they should have the right to come to a regulated store and get one for their family. And we have them come day in and day out. There is huge demand for our puppies. Real quick, I know it's going to be very hard to do anything with time. I just want to show you a little bit. Regulations. There's signage in my store that has to be there from Consumer Affairs. The protections that consumers have when they walk out of my store if that puppy gets sick, what their consumer protections are, covered up to 2 times the cost of the puppy. When anybody leaves, when they come in, there are kennel cards showing the breeder information, showing the consumer protections, showing the information about the puppy, where the puppy came from, the sire and dam information, the breeding information, the full medical record with all the veterinary oversight. You don't have this with rescues. There's no such thing. There's no regulation. There's no veterinary oversight. They're trucking dogs in from all over the country. The CDC just stopped imports coming from Egypt because of the rabies that has now come in through that foreign import. So the import and the shelters and rescues and retail rescue is out of control. And we are the only ones that are regulated for a safe place for a New Jersey family to get their puppy, and we have plenty here in Madison.
Time. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard, please step forward.
Eric Range, Bellow Avenue in Madison. As most of you know, I currently serve as the president of the Madison Board of Health. At a recent meeting of the Board of Health, we passed a resolution supporting the Borough Council's proposed plan to introduce the ordinance tonight, 2019, aiming to revise Chapter 59 governing this retail sale of cats and dogs within the borough. Know that our board endorses these revisions that will promote the health and safety not only of our human residents, but also their animal companions, and urge the council to adopt the proposed ordinance.
Thank you. Ben? Anyone else wishing to be heard, please step forward. Oh, yeah.
Jonathan Dubray, Greenbrook, New Jersey. So, we've talked a lot about this over the last couple meetings. I don't really want to bore you with, I bought a dog from a pet store, it's terribly sick. I bought a dog from a rescue, it's costing me thousands of dollars in medical bills. I just want to shed some light on something that I heard at a past meeting that kind of drew my attention. So there was an activist that was stating that they were wondering if no pet store has ever bought a dog from a puppy mill, then where do these puppy mill dogs go? Because we do know they exist, and they were wondering, you know, where these dogs end up. Well, so in the state of New Jersey, there's about 17 pet stores left that still sell dogs. In the country, nationally, there's about 240 pet stores that still sell puppies. In the state of New Jersey, there's also 400 registered rescues, and there's also many more that are unregistered that we cannot find or don't know if they're a registered 501c3. Nationally, there's thousands and thousands of rescues. Now, the difference between the two is the pet stores are regulated. We're told who we can buy from. We have laws to abide. And we're a fully regulated business. The rescues have zero restrictions on where they can obtain a dog. They can get dogs from the Korean meat trade, they can get dogs from Mexico, and they can get dogs from the soap puppy mills that we are trying to close. I'm not a mad Jesus, but if you think that 17 New Jersey pet stores or the 240 pet stores nationally are operating with regulation on keeping these puppy mills in business, these puppy stores, these pet stores have sourcing restrictions, and you know they. Sorry, I lost my spot. So, in closing, I mean, the ultimate goal is to end puppy mills, and we're all in this room, we're all against puppy mills. But in order to end the puppy mill, you have to regulate the sourcing of a rescue. If a rescue has no sourcing laws, then they're just going to keep going. You could ban pet stores all you want from every town in New Jersey, but if the rescues are still able to go to dog auctions, go to the side of the road, go to the truck stops on the New Jersey Turnpike, they'll always be puppy mills. There's also online sales, which are unregulated. You can buy a dog from a puppy mill online in every state in the
1 minute.
So I respectfully urge that you do not ban a regulated business like a pet store and consider putting together an ordinance to regulate sourcing on rescues. We do have one drafted as the part of the New Jersey Coalition of Responsible Pet Store, and if you would be happy to hear it, we would love to share this ordinance with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to be heard? Please step forward.
Catherine Neese, Mount Olive, New Jersey. I would just like to read something very quickly. This is from a vet who practices in Connecticut. Her name is Karen Lewis. It's from her blog. She's also known as the Vet Chick. When I look at the puppy I am examining, I don't see a cute puppy. I see mom and dad living lives of abuse and neglect. I've worked for a large humane organization that busted puppy mills. Before that, I personally rescued dogs from these horrible places. I can't unsee what I have seen. Instead of fawning over this puppy, I am fighting back tears. Mom lives in a cage where her feet poke through the wires and the open sores never heal. She has nowhere to lie where she can be out of pain. Her teeth have rotted out, but she has to find a way to eat the hard dog food through the pain or starve. Mom may not have enough nutrition to grow fur. If she does have fur, it's often matted to the skin, causing infected open wounds. Some dogs have fur matted completely over their eyes, rendering them blind for life. Dad might be missing an eye and most likely several teeth. All that matters is he can still breed. He is terrified of any human contact. All he knows is being grabbed and physically thrown into a cage with a female in heat. His life is one cage to another. The dogs never leave these cages. They never see grass. Some are kept in sheds and barns and never see the sun ever in their lives. Others are outside in wire pens exposed to all the elements. They are born there and they die there. They never leave. They never see a toy or a leash and never learn a person touching them can be pleasant. The lucky few that are saved require months, even years of emotional rehabilitation. Some can never handle a person touching them. It's just too terrifying after all that they've been through. Grass, carpet, a squeaky toy, all these are foreign and terrifying at first. Dogs coming out of puppy mills into homes feel like they have moved to a different planet. The images go through my mind as I am looking at the new cute puppy. The only way to stop the abuse is for people to stop buying these dogs. I know I am too late with this puppy, but I still need to tell the owner so she can tell her friends and not let others make the same mistake. She's a good person. Her friends are good people. They are fabulous dog owners. These are the people who need to learn the truth and will appreciate it. I have one of those dogs, and for the first 3 months that we had her, we had to leave the lead on her because she would not come anywhere near us. She was terrified. I urge you to please consider this ordinance. It's truly the humane thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard?
Hi, my name is Stephanie Earle, and I'm one of the owners of Furrylicious in Huntington County, and I'm speaking in opposition to this ordinance. I did read the Vet Chick's blog, and I rolled my eyes as I read it, because that is one veterinarian's opinion of breeders and commercial breeders, and we all know that there are factions in the animal industry that do not like breeders and commercial breeders. And we also all know that there are horrible puppy mills out there, and none of us dispute that. Banning pet stores, however, in favor of rescues and shelters removes all accountability, disclosure requirements, and consumer protections offered by the current New Jersey Pet Purchase Protection Act. Since it's undisputed fact that only about 4% of dogs are sourced through pet stores, I'd like to know what Madison is doing to protect residents in the case of the other 90% of dogs that will be acquired through sale or adoption. We do not believe this ordinance is coming from major local opposition or a groundswell of complaints in town about pet stores. We believe it is the same handful of adopt, don't shop activists who are moving from town to town with the same outdated talking points to discredit pet stores and further their national campaign to end all dog breeding and purebreds and to monopolize the retail pet marketplace. I'm sorry, but what kind of society have we become that some people think it's a good thing that all of our dogs should have to be rescued versus being bred with purpose? We should be striving to eliminate the root causes of rescue dogs, which is irresponsible pet ownership, lack of appropriate spay-neuter, access and education, lack of access to affordable veterinary care in certain cases, and yes, even some geographical and cultural differences in opinions and pet ownership. While, of course, there are many great rescues doing great work, rescuing pets should be a necessity, not a business, and it should not be the only option. A woman in my store the other day was telling me that she would be picking up her rescue, a lab pit mix, in a parking lot in Bedminster, in a parking lot in Bedminster, off of a truck coming up from the south. To me, I find this a very unsavory way to be buying a dog. It's as if they're stealing a stolen TV or something. Beside the obvious fact that many local New Jersey shelters have lab pit mixes waiting to be adopted. In 2015, the Pet Purchase Protection Act limited our ability to work with small local hobby breeders because in the activist view,
1 minute.
These breeders had no oversight and there could be no guarantee that their operations were satisfactory. Yet now the activists are testifying that you should be going to these breeders to get your puppies. We only source from USDA licensed breeders. The activists are obsessed with USDA reports, and while we are all fully compliant with local, state, and federal regulations, we rely on much more than inspection reports when we choose the breeders that we work with. We rely on breeder visits, the relationships and interactions we have with our breeders, the advice and opinions of our colleagues, our field reps, industry professional, and yes, of course, the quality and health of the puppies that come to us from each breeder. Not only do we not buy from substandard or unregulated breeders, we are working with some of the best and most professional breeders in the country, including many AKC licensed breeders.
Thank you.
I would just like to ask if we could
Ma'am, your time's
thank
up.
you.
a
Thank
meeting
you.
of stakeholders and be.
Ma'am,
Thank you.
time is up. Thank you.
Anyone else switch bird? Kathy?
Kathy Daly, West End Avenue. I brought with me tonight, because I know you've already passed the budget recently, I brought my copy of last year's budget summary, the one. And I want to, every year when we receive this, Mayor, I question. I know it's transparency, right? It's certainly our attempt at being transparent, but I question whether it's not just a bit misleading, especially this section here, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, where we compare ourselves and our property taxes and services to our neighbors. And one of the things we include as a service that's listed that we have that none of our neighbors have is our municipal electric utility. Well, that's included in here as a benefit that we receive, but the costs of that electric utility are not reflected as something that Madison pays. So what I would like to suggest, if you're going to prepare one of these, like I mean, we've been preparing these for the last several years. I've seen them in my utility bill when I get it. So I assume you're going to be doing something similar to that, or asking the CFO to put something like that together. What I did was I put together a version, an alternate version, which I think is a bit more transparent and less misleading, that includes. So what I have here, and I'll give you a copy of it, the top part shows what we have from the 2018, which shows the 2017 tax rate on a per capita basis. And it does not include the $7.5 million in what I want to call an electricity tax, which is the surplus that the Borough Council transferred from the utility accounts into the borough accounts for non-utility expenses, capital expenses, and also operating expenses. What I've done on the bottom is I've calculated, based on this document, which is the revised draft budget that was presented at one of the council meetings back in early 2018. I've calculated a revised amount on a per capita basis of what Madison's per capita tax, municipal tax that is, and electricity tax would add up to. So while in your chart that we usually see, it shows Madison as being the second lowest in our region compared to our neighbors. The tax rate that my version shows, which is, I think, a more transparent version and more honest. I'm sorry to use that word, but more honest.
That's is a good word to use. Excuse me.
Oh, let's just let her finish. Yep.
Well, more completely inclusive. If you're going to include the municipal electric utility as a benefit that's received, you need to acknowledge that it costs something as well. That's just my point in putting this together. So this acknowledges that it costs $7.5 million, more than that actually, that was transferred from utilities into borough operating.
Yeah, 15 seconds, I missed you on the 1 minute warning.
That's just fine. I only need 15 seconds more. And it shows us as being the second highest per capita municipal tax rate, just below Harding. So I'll leave this with you.
Okay, thank you. So you can bring that up here. Anyone else wishing to be heard? Just a quick, to help people understand, as I've often said, that when you write your check to JCP&L, the stockholders of First Energy appreciate the surplus that JCP&L will generate for the stockholders. When you write the check to Borough of Madison Electric, the residents of Madison see those dividends literally with going back into the community. Thank you.
Boy.
Kirsten Wallenstein for Westerly Avenue. I am just wanted to speak and bring a small thing to the council's attention. I'm working with the Madison Environmental Commission to try to keep the fields that we were all talking about earlier, the beautiful baseball fields, the MRC, to keep them clean. I don't know if any of you walk around town or have been to the fields. You might not have kids in sports, but if you go on Madison area parents or you walk around, you'll see plastic bottles just littering everywhere. And there's a small group of us trying to get the kids to take ownership, because it shouldn't be the DPW's job to do it. We want them to bring reusable water bottles. I see some here. Great. But if they do have recyclables, to recycle them. However, I think there's a little infrastructure missing. I don't know if it's DPW or the rec department or the environmental commission, because I think it's multiple groups. But our recycling bins are not well marked. I feel like we need to kind of market ourselves that we are green, encourage people to recycle, and to have one blue bin in the corner of Dodge Field, it's kind of hard for even me to go out and yell at these teens, you got to go over to that corner and take your Gatorade. So I don't know how to get it in the budget for next year or if there's a way, but I just wanted to bring that up, that we would love to keep the place more clean, but it'd be great to have some real nice, cool recycling bins.
Thank you. We'll take that back to DPW, and especially considering that probably a high percentage is generated in the dugouts or on the benches, on the soccer fields and so on, and maybe we don't have it close enough to those locations. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Good evening. I'll be very brief. Tom Leach, ACO, New Jersey. I represent the Coalition of Pet Stores. I know you've all received some emails from me. Just respectfully ask that in the next 2 weeks you consider convening a stakeholder meeting. Have a sit down with us, the other side. We've done that in a number of municipalities. Despite the rhetoric you hear tonight, we've had civil discussions and meaningful movement towards an ordinance that actually works in other municipalities. The bans are ineffective. You're trying to ban and regulate businesses who are located half a country away through local ordinances. They've proven to be ineffective. Just ask you consider and hear everybody out in a more meaningful way than what you've heard in the 3-minute speeches you've heard here tonight and over the last few weeks. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to be heard, please step forward. Seeing none, I close this part of the meeting, and we move on to introduction ordinances. Will the clerk please read the statement?
Ordinance is scheduled for first reading, have a hearing date set for Wednesday, May the 29th, 2019. All will be published in the Madison Eagle, posted on the bulletin board, and made available to members of the public.
I call up ordinances for first reading and ask the clerk to read said ordinance by title. Ordinance 19-2019.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison amending Chapter 134 of the Borough Code entitled Parking Lots to increase the daily parking fees at the Crescent parking lot.
Mayor, I move ordinance 19-2019.
I second the motion.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
Ordinance 20-2019.
Ordinance of the Borough of Madison amending and supplementing Chapter 59 of the Borough Code prohibiting the retail sale of dogs and cats in the borough.
Mayor, I move ordinance 20-2019.
Second.
Any council discussion?
Yeah, I think I want to make a comment. Been sitting here listening to all you good folks coming out and chatting with us, and we appreciate it. I kind of heard something tonight about, the puppy mill in Iowa, and they're not compliant in the state of New Jersey. Well, that's fine. That's fine. But I think sometimes we forget to reach out. And these puppy mills are all across the country. And it seems to me what I hear is a common theme that we should not have puppy mills. Am I correct? Everybody agrees.
No conversation to that. Just let's keep it up here, please. Thank you.
A little bit different.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit concerned that we're just not reaching out in the right way, and I also heard that the rescue organizations are buying all of these dogs at auctions. Well, if there were no puppy mills, then we would not have dogs being put up in auction. So I think that people have to kind of get together and assume that our neighbors are not just people within a town or a state or whatever. It's across the country, and this is what's happening. I just want to make that. It kind of bothered me to not make a comment about this at all. Every single one of us here are animal lovers. We all have dogs, cats, the whole entire thing. And we have a lot of respect. We were very concerned. That's why we hired St. Hubert's to be our animal control people, because we want the best for our residents in Madison. But maybe you all need to get together and compromise and say, hey, listen, how do we eliminate the puppy mills across the country, not only just here? Okay, we'll take care of ourselves, and we'll take care of Madison in the right way. That's it.
Ostry?
Thank you, Mayor. I think we finally got a reasonable ordinance. There's a provision in there for the breeder, the kennel. Our current pet store, both of them are in favor of this. It supports the rescue dogs, and I think that we're doing the right thing for the people of Madison.
Thank you. John and then Maureen?
I've read and heard both sides of this argument for the last several weeks in depth. And I've read every word, heard every word, and I've taken them to heart. So I thank you, as Carmela did. I want to thank you very much for coming and talking to us. I think, again, we have a Board of Health, and our Board of Health is comprised of very talented people, run by an excellent chair, and I would like to listen to their recommendation. But I'm also concerned about the safety of our citizens and animals. I'm concerned about our community, Madison, and our citizens. We do not sell puppies or cats in our stores in Madison, and I don't think we want to going forward. So for me, I would absolutely vote for this as the best alternative ordinance. That's all. Thank you.
Maureen?
Well, I moved to Madison because of a dog. Came up from Virginia, and we had Blondie, who we had gotten from the rescue. And rescues aren't always good. We found out that our single dog was actually ancient, and she was, well, anyway, we've had dogs, and, I think there has to be room for people who like rescues, and you're going to have good dogs and you have bad dogs. And I do believe that we need to, as John said, for the health of our community, make sure that whatever is being offered here is healthy and right. So,
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
No.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Cohen?
Yes.
Great. Consent agenda resolutions. Will the clerk please read the statement?
Consent agenda resolutions will be enacted with a single motion. Any resolution requiring expenditure is supported by a certification of availability of funds. Any resolution requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. All resolutions will be reflected in full in the minutes.
Mayor, I move Resolution 145 through R166.
168 with the revised.
168, sorry.
That's
I'll second.
Any discussion or any that need to be pulled? Roll call vote, please.
Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Yes.
There is no unfinished business. Approval of vouchers. Will the clerk please read the register?
Current fund, $452,498.59. General capital fund, $4,075.15. Electric operating fund, $801,928.51. Electric capital fund, $7,416.96. Water operating fund, $6,187.68. Water capital fund, $19,640. Trust, $160,168.90. The total is $1,451,915.79.
I move approval of the vouchers.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Ms. Vitale?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Yes.
Ms. Byrne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Yes.
New business, like to make the following appointments and request council confirmation for the Downtown Development Commission. Robert Landry on 39 Green Village Road, as at-large member for an unexpired 3-year term through December 31st, 2019. And Robert Rocco of 215 Central Avenue, merchant business owner for an unexpired term, 3-year term through December 31st, 2019. Note that Bob Rocco is currently on the DDC, just shifting his role. And then for the Local Emergency Planning Council, Robert Landrigan, Assistant Deputy Coordinator for unexpired 1-year term through December 31st, 2019.
I'll move them.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Mayor, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all. Ready on that time. Thank you.
Tell you that I won't be able to. I won't be able to. What I'll have to do, Kathy's Carmela, why don't I take mine?